Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Chrissy Small, and some of the stories coming up in today's news. District health boards are to make fluoride decisions, council meeting absenteeism response, and more. The fluoridating water decision-making powers is to now transfer to district health boards in an announcement by the government, taking the decision-making away from local authorities, which have faced fierce debate here at times in Nelson over the issue. Health Minister Jonathan Coleman has said that putting water fluoridation decisions in the hands of district health boards rather than local councils should lead to more water supplies being fluoridated. Associate Health Minister Peter Dunn has supported the announcement and said district health boards are better placed to make that call than councils. Of New Zealand's 67 local authorities, 27 are already fluoridating their water. Dr Coleman said that he has been told by councils that they did not want to be in charge of making decisions on fluoridation. We went out to the streets to ask Nelson people what their thoughts were on this latest announcement. What do you think about governments taking the fluoride and water decision away from councils and it will now be administered by DHBs?
I'm not happy about that at all. I think it's harder for us to keep it out of our water if we choose to do that. What are we going to do? Go up to the DHB and protest outside and disturb patients? You just can't do that. So yeah, I don't agree with it. I don't want to shower and wash my hair in fluoride. I don't want my cats drinking it. In fact, I don't have a tooth decay problem. The kids that have got it are the ones that aren't drinking water anyway. So, I don't know, 50% tax on sugar drinks maybe? But just don't produce them. Just say, hey look, if you're going to have a can of Coke, it can't have 12 teaspoons of sugar, it's only allowed 1.5 because kids should only have 6 teaspoons a day. What about that?
I don't really have any thoughts, No, I think fluoride's fine, yep.
There's a lot of people that are opposed to it and they have their good reasons, so they'd want to be heard. I think people need to be listened to.
I haven't given that much thought,
I don't think we should be adding fluoride to the water. I think that's an individual thing that people can do themselves. They can take fluoride tablets. A lot of our water just goes down the drain anyway, washing dishes, showers, things like that. Yeah.
I think they should have the same rule for the whole of New Zealand as opposed to, because I understand the Northland has put that in practice already.
Right.
But
Did you know fluoride is considered to be a poison?
yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
I may not have all the facts, but I believe I've heard it's a neurotoxin, and if it's about kids' teeth decaying, then why don't we stop them eating sweets and deal with it that way rather than put something in the water. So I'm totally against it.
Well, I think it's a sign of this whole move away from sovereignty for local councils and the sovereignty of each community, putting it into the hands of so-called experts that don't really have any interest in the well-being of the people, because the studies have shown all over the world that fluoride is a toxin. And so why is the DHB refused to come onto Mainland TV, for example, when repeatedly asked to have an open debate about the pros and cons of fluoride? So there's been only the individuals that have organised public meetings to pack out the Stoke Hall, for example, to show the dangers of fluoride, and that was not even replied to by the DHB. So why have they got the expertise, according to government, to make a decision on the behalf of the community about the pros of fluoride? So that's basically what needs to happen as an open debate before the government would even think of taking the sovereignty of the council away to hand it to a bunch of people that aren't even willing to have an open debate on fluoride.
The Nelson Marlborough District Health Board has come out in support of the government announcement. The latest Nelson City Council attendance records for November, December and February have been released, and it seems that turning up to all the scheduled meetings and workshops is still a bit tricky for some councillors for undisclosed reasons. We took a look at the last 3 months to see how attendance records looked on behalf of council's employers, the ratepayers. Mayor Rachel Rees attended all 10 of her scheduled meetings, as did Ian Parker, plus one that he did not have to attend. Councillor Brian McGurk attended all 9 scheduled meetings plus 2 extras. However, on the flip side, according to council records, Councillor Pete Rainey had 6 meetings to attend, however was only able to make 3 of them. Councillor Luke Ackland had 7 meetings and only attended 4, while Councillor Mike Ward had 6 meetings and attended 4, as he was absent from the 2 meetings in December, giving him the whole month off, as did Councillor Eric Davies. All these absences were acknowledged at the meetings. However, records show that Councillor Kate Fulton came in with the only did not attend, which means no apology or excuse was given. In May 2015, councillors received a pay rise of $2,200, bringing their base salary up to $39,000. For many in the Nelson region, this would be a good full-time wage. However, it is still below the mean average New Zealand wage, which is at $45,000. The other point of interest is that 3 of the external appointees who sit on council and have voting rights, John Peters and John Murray, had 3 scheduled meetings over 3 months. However, John Peters could only attend 1 of those, while Glenys Payne attended her 2 only scheduled meetings. External appointees still earn $12,000 a year, whether they attend scheduled meetings or not. We asked people in Nelson if elected officials in these positions should be paid for their absences from meetings.
I don't think anyone should be paid when they don't do the work. No, they shouldn't be paid if they don't attend. I don't get paid if I don't come to work, so why should I get paid for not going to work?
Doesn't seem right, does it?
You have to ask why they're at the job that they're at. I think that there are some circumstances where people can't be at meetings all the time, but to be not attending meetings for 2/3 of the time or something like that, I think you have to really think about it, about the job.
Tasman District Councillor Judy Edgar, when asked this week about her thoughts on council and committee members' absenteeism from council meetings while still being paid for non-attendance, she had this to say. Now, there's a big question mark over councillors' attendances and committee member attendances. We've been looking at Nelson, but there's also Tasman District Council. People are getting paid for not attending these meetings. Is that fair?
How councillors are paid is actually a hard one. I know certainly before my time there was a time where councillors were paid by meeting attendance, and that wasn't actually even necessarily fair either. I'm not saying the current system is, but you'd have councillors who have read the papers, done the homework, know the topic, and then for some reason, and it could be they were called to a different meeting somewhere, but because it's not a standing committee meeting, they then didn't get paid. You can also have councillors, and this isn't unique for Tasman, who do turn up to a meeting, but they're not prepared and they haven't read. So is attending the meeting the be-all and end-all? I think attending meetings is absolutely important. You've got to keep up with the discussion, you've got to keep up with where things are at. Unfortunately, it's often only other councillors who know, oh yes, that councillor is doing other council duty, that is a good priority that they should have gone to. And I guess that comes back to those information sessions that I'm going to be involved in. Council is quite different to what a lot of people expect it to be, and it's also different on different councils. A unitary authority, we have the territorial and the regional responsibilities. Tasman has a lot of travel and a lot of area that we need to be aware of. While we're elected by ward, we are there to represent the district. You need to know the issues in Murchison, in Lake Rotoiti, in Collingwood. And if you're not cognizant of them, you need to be going over there and being familiar with the landscape or the environment or whatever it is you're talking about. And that's a lot of time. So if anyone thinks that they've got a main job, they'll fit council in around it, you're not going to do the job justice. And you're there to represent the ratepayers. And my personal ethos is you really have to give it your all, and it has to be a major commitment for you.
Jedinika, we wish you the best of luck for your future. We're sure that you'll do great things, whatever you decide to do, and you will be missed.
Thank you so much, Chrissy.
Housing is always an issue when it comes to health, and governments over the years have looked at healthy home initiatives like home insulation. However, the Green Party believes that houses should be given a certificate of fitness to protect tenants. I asked the Housing Minister Nick Smith about the suggestion of a warrant of fitness for rental housing. What about a warrant of fitness for houses, so that when someone actually goes to look at a house, they can see it's got a certified warrant of fitness?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Yeah.
And I decided it's a dog.
Okay.
Right, and let me tell you why. Oh, first thing was these lovely bureaucrats, they all went away and read the rules, and I thought, well, the first thing you should do is, when somebody writes some rules, some bureaucratic rules, try it out on your own house. Well, my house would not have got a warrant of fitness. My home that I live in now, it's about a 45-year-old bungalow, lovely home. Bit small, only one shower, so that's why me and my family get you. But anyway, one of the rules in the warrant of fitness is that if you've got a sliding door that doesn't have a safety strip so that people don't walk into it, you're in breach of the law. That doesn't comply with the warrant of fitness. If you look at provisions that they proposed around, for instance, you have to have stays on windows so that the windows can't open more than 6 inches. Actually, mine, I quite like to, on a nice warm day, open the windows up, get the air breathing through the house. So my view of these people that are proposing a warrant of fitness for housing is it would be an expensive bureaucratic nightmare. Got the numbers? They said the administrative cost of it would be $100 million a year. Who do you think's going to pay that? I'm sorry, it's not the landlord. The landlord just puts the cost in on the rent. You're going to end up harming the very families that you're wanting to help. Now here's the real issue, and remember, we've got 500,000 rental properties across New Zealand. So you're putting a warrant of fitness, little man out with his checkbook, checking every one of those 500,000 a year. Actually, the number of properties that we have, apart from the issue of insulation and smoke alarms, of which I'm doing, on these other issues, the law right now says you can't have mould through the house. The law right now says you can't have unsafe electrical fittings. The law right now says you can't be bloody leaky and mouldy, right?
Yeah.
Here's the issue, it's enforcement. The issue is that there are bloody dodgy slum landlords out there that are renting people out, and while those people could take, and here's the real issue, many of those people that are living in those properties, I'm sorry, their lives are disorganised, they have people with mental health illness, you have vulnerable people. And the idea that they're going to have the capability to lodge a complaint before the tenancy tribunal and sort it out, I'm sorry, the easiest thing, you know what happens when people get a really dodgy slum landlord? They just say, stick your tenancy agreement up, your what's the name, and I'm off to a new property. The problem there is the property's still dodgy. Someone else who's desperate moves in. So here's the answer. In that bill before Parliament, I'm giving the power of my ministry to go over top of the tenant and to enforce the standards that already exist in law around electrical safety, around leaky, around mould and all those things.
Sure.
In my view, that is, rather than putting a bureaucratic requirement over 500,000 homes with a whole lot of clipboard Charlies driving lots of reasonable people mad, why don't I put the focus on those properties that are dodgy and get some teeth into the law and make sure we go after the minority of slum landlords. And the last point I'd make around these changes that I'm making is these requirements for insulation. The problem with insulation is people don't know. You know, when you go to a house and you say, well, shall I rent that house?
Yeah.
You can't see from the outside. So the other thing I'm doing is from the 1st of July this year, the landlord's required to declare what the level of insulation in that home is. And the reason for that is that hopefully the tenant will say, I've got 2 properties. This one's going to cost me $400 a week. This one's going to cost me $410, but it's fully insulated. So I'm going to save $20, $25 a week on power bills. That's a better home. So getting the market better informed about the level of insulation is also part of my plan.
I went out to the streets to ask people if they thought a warrant of fitness would be a good idea for rental properties. What's your opinion on rental houses having a warrant of fitness as the Green Party's put forward?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. As long as the rents don't go up, because people can't even afford to rent them as it is. So I don't know, something's got to be done. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So even though government's reluctant to do it, do you think they should?
Oh, I'm in two minds. I'm not, yeah.
Because it will mean extra cost. Someone's got to pay for it, don't
I
they?
guess some people don't mind what they live in, but I guess it's up to the landlord and landlady that, they do the best.
Yeah, maybe it's about the landlords should be checked out, because a lot of landlords are great and they look after their houses, so it would go across the board, yeah.
Well, I suppose so, yes. I think that could be a good advantage for most tenants.
Right.
Absolutely, should be same for everyone, yeah.
Heritage Week kicks off on Thursday this week, and the Nelson Provincial Museum, along with Nelson City Council, have had some great things organised for people to come and see and do. I caught up with Cawthorne Institute Trust Board Secretary Judine Edgar, who spoke to me about what Heritage Week means. Judine, we've got Heritage Week coming up. What will that mean for those of us in the region?
I think it's a celebration of what we've got, but it's also so much more than that. It's remembering to value that heritage because it's not always there. We have the built structures, of course, like the beautiful Isle House, but it's the stories as well. To me, that's such a key part of our heritage. Often we'll sit down with, granddad or someone and they'll start going on about their stories. But instead of seeing them that way and regarding them that way, it's actually valuing the fact that if we don't take on board those stories and carry them forward, then they're often lost forever. And our heritage is a key part of who we are today, how we got to be who we are as a town, as a region, as a nation. So heritage is just so important. We've got to value, we've got to celebrate, we've got to protect.
I went out this week and asked people in Nelson if they had heard or knew anything about Heritage Week. What do you know about Heritage Week?
Nothing.
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 Not much?
Not much, no.
Did you know it's kicking off?
Yeah, I read about it in the paper and I keep thinking I must read more about that because it's cool, yeah.
Oh, not that much. Sorry.
Yeah. Heritage Week. I think it's a newspaper, eh?
No.
Oh. I haven't heard anything yet. I'm not a Kiwi, I'm from England. I haven't heard anything.
We will bring you more on Heritage Week tomorrow. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Hi there. Julian Toon, Waimea Telecommunications. We install and maintain domestic and commercial satellite TV, UHF Freeview and Mainland TV installations in the Nelson, Tasman regions. We specialise in Panasonic telephone systems and provide communications, Wi-Fi, IT and wiring for internet, fibre, computers and DSL systems. At Waimea Telecommunications, we also provide specialist electronic systems for features such as a security camera you can watch on your TV, visitor alert systems and much more. Improve your security and communication and entertainment today. Call us on Waimea Telecommunications on 021 472297, ytel.co.nz.
Nelson Tire Center. Great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer. All types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.
Are you looking for a scooter, walker, wheelchair, baby seats or pushchairs? Then come in and see the Nelson Region Specialist at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library. We have a huge selection of scooters, walkers, wheelchairs and accessories, along with a free booklet guide. We also provide a breakdown service if you ever get a puncture or a flat battery. We have fully equipped service vans to rescue you. Hi, I'm Robin Jordan and I invite you to call in and see the friendly team at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Welcome to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, open 7 days a week with free parking all day. Our lunch menus have that fat old-fashioned flavour where we treat you like treasure with the food you'll savour.
We cater for children, grannies and granddads too, with special rates and privileges given to the elderly lunchtime crew. Our staff are friendly and kind and want to see you all come back time after time.
Daytime or evening, it doesn't matter. Give us a call on 546 4084 and we'll be happy to spoil ya.
Victory 60 Plus is on Tuesdays at 1:30 through to 3:30 p.m. at 238 Upper Vanguard Street. You can join in for cards, games and a cuppa.
Sit and Be Fit is on at the Victory Community Centre Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. at the Victory Community Church, 238 Upper Vanguard Street. School terms only. Fun while you get fitter, work at your level.
On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us, and we'll bring you the latest news and events from around the region again tomorrow.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
Hi, I'm Paul Mainland and you're watching Ego TV, or something along those lines.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables and much, much more. JCar.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Christchurch's top 10 holiday park, situated on 5 hectares of beautiful park-like settings. Only 5 kilometres from Christchurch town centre. 10 minutes from Christchurch International Airport and minutes away from Northlands Mall and all its facilities, including a 24-hour supermarket. And just across the road is a great variety of restaurants to choose from. Christchurch Top 10 Holiday Park has been a family-owned business for over 40 years and a proud member of the Top 10 Holiday Park Group, New Zealand's premier holiday parks chain. Our Top 10 Holiday Park is world-renowned as a family park and provides a wide range of facilities such as a heated swimming pool, bike hire, free barbecues, a jumping pillow, trampolines, a family games and TV room, and wireless internet. Accommodation options cater for a wide variety to suit all needs, from tent and camper van sites to family, luxury and corporate motels. And to make life easy for wary travellers, we even have a drive-through camper van check-in. At our Top 10 Holiday Park, we even provide housing solutions for earthquake-damaged houses and help with insurance approval. Come visit the Christchurch Top 10 Holiday Park, one of New Zealand's premier holiday parks, and experience all that Canterbury and Christchurch have to offer, right on our doorstep. Christchurch's amazing Top 10 Holiday Park. Top experience, always.
Meadow Park, located on Cranford Street near the main North Road, Christchurch.
World War I was a defining period in our history, impacting greatly on the lives of people from the Nelson province. Memories of the First World War is an exhibition which will be displayed in a number of regional venues and is currently on at the Nelson Provincial Museum.
If you lined up all the blood vessels in your body, they'd be 95,000 kilometers long. And every day, they carry the equivalent of over 7,500 liters of blood, though that's actually the same 4 or 5 liters recycled over and over, delivering oxygen and precious nutrients like glucose and amino acids to the body's tissues. All that blood exerts a force on the muscular walls of the blood vessels. That force is called blood pressure, and it rises and falls with the phases of the heartbeat. It's highest during systole, when the heart contracts to force blood through the arteries. This is your systolic blood pressure. When the heart is at rest between beats, blood pressure falls to its lowest value, the diastolic pressure. A typical healthy individual produces a systolic pressure between 90 and 120 millimeters of mercury, and diastolic pressure between 60 and 80. Taken together, a normal reading is a bit less than 120/80. The blood traverses the landscape of the body through the pipes of the circulatory system. In any plumbing system, several things can increase the force on the walls of the pipes: the properties of the fluid, extra fluid, or narrower pipes. So if the blood thickens, a higher pressure is needed to push it, so the heart will pump harder. A high salt diet will lead to a similar result. The salt promotes water retention, and the extra fluid increases the blood volume and blood pressure. And stress, like the fight or flight response, releases hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine that constrict key vessels, increasing the resistance to flow and raising the pressure upstream. Blood vessels can usually handle these fluctuations easily. Elastic fibers embedded in their walls make them resilient. But if your blood pressure regularly rises above about 140/90, what we call hypertension, and stays there, it can cause serious problems. That's because the extra strain on the arterial wall can produce small tears. When the injured tissue swells up, substances that respond to the inflammation, like white blood cells, collect around the tears. Fat and cholesterol floating in the blood latch on too, eventually building up to form a plaque that stiffens and thickens the inner arterial wall. This condition is called atherosclerosis, and it can have dangerous consequences. If the plaque ruptures, a blood clot forms on top of the tear, clogging the already narrowed pipe. If the clot is big enough, it can completely block the flow of oxygen and nutrients to cells downstream. In vessels that feed the heart, that will cause a heart attack when oxygen-deprived cardiac muscle cells start to die. If the clot cuts off blood flow to the brain, it causes a stroke. Dangerously clogged blood vessels can be widened by a procedure called an angioplasty. There, doctors thread a wire through the vessel to the obstructed site, and then pass a deflated balloon catheter over the wire. When the balloon is inflated, it forces the passageway open again. Sometimes a rigid tube called a stent is placed in the vessel to help hold it open, letting the blood flow freely to replenish the oxygen-starved cells downstream. Staying flexible under pressure is a tough job for arteries. The fluid they pump is composed of substances that can get sticky and clog them. And your typical healthy heart beats about 70 times a minute, and at least 2.5 billion times during an average lifetime. That may sound like an insurmountable amount of pressure, but don't worry, your arteries are well suited for the challenge.
Welcome me hearties to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, famous for hearty meals, craft ales and a friendly service way. Sensational seasonal menus with meals all day and evening too, or sail in for a snack with special menus for young smugglers and you. Settle in for a jolly old time, relax and enjoy our award-winning dining and lovely fine wine. Decked out in an old worldly way, we're open 7 days. Book or come on in to 8 Muritai Street, not far from a beach, walk or swim. Phone 5464 084.